దావోస్ పర్యటనలో ఉన్న మంత్రి నారా లోకేష్ టొబాకో ఉత్పత్తుల సంస్థ ఫిలిప్ మోరిస్ ఇంటర్నేషనల్ సౌత్ ఈస్ట్ ఏషియా వైస్ చైర్పర్సన్ ఆండ్రియాతో భేటీ అయ్యారు. ఫిలిప్ మోరిస్ అనుబంధ సంస్థ అయిన గాడ్ఫ్రే ఫిలిప్స్ ద్వారా ఏపీలో యూనిట్ ఏర్పాటు చేయాలన్నారు. దేశంలో రెండవ అతిపెద్ద పొగాకు ఉత్పత్తి రాష్ట్రమైన ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్లో స్మోక్ ఫ్రీ సిగరెట్ తయారు యూనిట్ ఏర్పాట్లపై చర్చించారు. గుంటూరు పరిసర ప్రాంతాలు అనువుగా ఉంటాయన్నారు లోకేష్. వ్యూహాత్మక విస్తరణకు ఆంధ్రప్రదేశ్ అనుకూల ప్రాంతమని, ప్రకాశం, గుంటూరు పరిసర ప్రాంతాల్లో రైతులు పెద్ద ఎత్తున పొగాకు పంట సాగు చేస్తున్నారని వివరించారు. ఉత్పాదక కార్యకలాపాల కోసం అవసరమైన శ్రామిక శక్తి కూడా ఏపీలో అందుబాటులో ఉందని వివరించారు లోకేష్. ఏపీ బృందం దావోస్ లో పర్యటిస్తోంది. ఆర్టిఫిషియల్ ఇంటెలిజెన్స్ పై రౌండ్ టేబుల్ సమావేశం నిర్వహించారు. ఈ సమావేశంలో మంత్రి నారా లోకేష్ పాల్గొన్నారు.
And public good, it can only happen if there is the public sector and the private sector working together. A lot of the technology comes from outside, but you have your own idea of how it will work. How is that partnership crucial?
I mean, Andhra Pradesh is always known for being at the cutting edge of technology and governance, or GovTech as we call it. In the third term of Mr. Naidu, we have the Real-Time Governance Center in place. And that was where we are assimilating all the data across various data sets and how can we use it for real-time decision making. But now with AI arriving, I think it can fundamentally transform governance. And I'll give you a few examples of what we are doing. First one is education. From being a passive learner to an active learner in the classroom. So we're doing this project where it's a 45 minutes class and then you have a 2-minute video which we're working with the Khan Academy. And we're coming up with 5 questions at the end and gamifying it and giving kids a clicker, a simple clicker with A, B, C, D option. And sort of gamifying it and using AI to actually prescribe homework based on results. And we want to track this data in a very, very long term. So that's one example of it. The other example is using AI in identifying beneficiaries for various government programs. That's the second project we're doing. Third project is delivery of government services using technology. So we have an agreement where through various platforms we can now deliver, and one of it being ahead is Meta on it.
Right.
WhatsApp governance, as we call it. And we're also working with Google in a similar platform. So I think there's a role to play. Government's job is to open up and create use cases that can then be scaled up.
Yep.
But then of course I think the initiative will also have to be led by the innovators across the world.
In fact, Matrena, that brings me to the role of Google. And, before we started this conversation, you were telling me a little bit about specific examples. I was fascinated by what Google brings in terms of AI and healthcare. And I also do believe that when it comes to diagnosing illnesses long distance, using the benefits of AI, it could have massive impacts in a country as large as India. Could you share a few examples of what Google is doing?
Sure, and again, I think anywhere that you have a lot of data that you could crunch very quickly and come up with an accurate answer, AI is a great use case. In most cases than not. For maternal health is a good use case that we're working in India at this point. One of the issues we had around mammograms and the time behind a mammogram was the time around diagnosis and the length of time, and how it impacted the ultimate result. Prior to AI and prior to utilizing these models, it took upwards of 5 days to get the result back to the patient. The problem with that is only about 20% of the patients came back once they got the information about this to go back to the doctor. So the AI use case we now put together is we can do a mammogram, run the numbers with very extreme accuracy within 5 minutes. So the patient hasn't left the doctor's office, right? So that's a good example of not just speeding up something for productivity, but it's a good example of changing the outcome, which I think is super important when you talk about health.
So AI actually analyzes a mammogram, it sort of diagnoses whatever it is, passes on that information to the doctor. So you've got essentially 2.
దావోస్ పర్యటనలో ఉన్న ఏపీ సీఎం చంద్రబాబు ఎల్జీ కెమికల్ లిమిటెడ్ సీఈఓ షిన్ హక్ తో సమావేశమయ్యారు. ఏపీలో పెట్టుబడులు పెట్టాలని ఆహ్వానించారు. అలాగే సిఐఐ సమ్మిట్ లో కూడా పాల్గొన్నారు. పునరుత్పాదక ఇంధనం తయారీకి గ్లోబల్ హబ్ గా మార్చడానికి స్థిరమైన అభివృద్ధి ఇంధన సంస్కరణలపై కూడా చర్చించారు.